What if I told you that recolonization is happening today in Africa, but this time round, they are not using guns or troops to basically destabilize the Africans. They are using a smarter approach, and it will surprise you. And by the way, despite African leaders occupying state houses, there are different people out there that are calling the shots on the African continent. It's not the African leaders that are making the big decisions on the African continent. And in this video, I want to bring to your attention the 5 major ways Africa is being recolonized and what can be done to stop this so that we do not end up having history repeat itself. Because our forefathers fought a lot to regain back their independence, and maybe in the comment section I would like this conversation to continue, so you can head over there and let me know about your opinion. And the other thing you could do for me is to like this video, especially in case you get some value from it. Now, when it comes to most of these colonialists, they learned that occupation is more expensive. They no longer want to actually be in these countries that they are colonizing. So basically what is happening, they are not spending much on military the way they did in the previous time, or in part 1, where they basically went, planted their flag in that particular colony and used military troops to basically try and suppress the people in that particular region or in that particular area. They know better now, because if they go ahead and use this kind of approach, this would ruin their reputation, so they don't want to invite that criticism. Now, this is what's going to surprise you. Instead of using that approach, they now use financial influence to basically be able to get a hold of the African continent, or the different 54 African states. Now, instead of issuing orders in these 54 African states, they now create dependencies. These African countries now 60 to 80% depend on these colonialists to actually run their own countries. So that's where the catch is, because this is the fact. If a country cannot finance its budget using external support, definitely its day-to-day runnings are going to be constrained. So this is the reason these colonialists are actually stepping in to basically try and work with these African governments. And of course, in the end, there is always an ulterior motive. So you must understand that the influence from these colonialists is no longer visible, but it is done in a much more effective way today. In part 1 of colonialism, and of course in this part 2 of recolonization that is currently happening, the battle has always been for African resources. They've always viewed Africa as a place where they can get their resources to basically run their industries. So there's always been a scramble for Africa's natural mineral resources, because let's not forget it, Africa has some of the world's critical minerals like cobalt, lithium, oil, the natural gases, and so many other minerals that are basically used to run the industries in these developed countries. Today, we have EVs. If you drive an electric vehicle, definitely it needs a lithium battery. And of course, this lithium is gotten from Africa. So what this basically means is that factories in China and factories in the US and in Europe, they all come to Africa to actually get these natural mineral resources. You've again and again seen it. If you enjoy your coffee very well, or if you take or basically consume chocolate, you know that cocoa is gotten from Africa, and it's basically taken very cheaply. But again, what is brought back in terms of chocolate is very expensive for the African market. So what this basically means is that they will do anything in their powers to basically stay or remain controlling Africa the best way they can. So no wonder they've never left, or they are actually colonizing Africa even the more today as we speak. I want to talk a bit about debt. Now, debt in itself is not harmful at all, but the type of debt or the kind of debt that is gotten in Africa, it is not sustainable. And no wonder your country keeps depending on the West or maybe China to run its day-to-day kind of business. Because this is what's happening in Africa. Governments are borrowing to construct roads, to construct hospitals, to construct schools. They are borrowing to actually do this. No wonder in 2020 there was a big story in Zambia where the Chinese government basically wanted to take over the airport and other major social services to basically try and recover back the big debt that Zambia owed the Chinese government. So you can imagine getting to this state. Some of these African countries entirely depend on these foreign nations, and this is a situation not any African country wants to be in, because you don't want to be entirely surviving on debt. This Zambian story really caught my eye because it was $12 billion that the Chinese government was demanding from Zambia, and of course it caused a lot of controversy in the country and in Africa in general. The next big frontier is data. Data has become one of the most valuable economic assets. When you look at social media or the search engines that we have today like Google, or even the AI that we use on a day-to-day basis, you do not know who really owns these companies, do you? These companies, of course, do a lot in terms of serving the purpose of communication. But again, when it comes to that moment when you're using these platforms, they are collecting your data each and every day. And I'm sure you do not know exactly where this data is stored. So what basically ends up happening, these companies are turning you into a slave. You are basically becoming a slave to your device, and it's all a plan from these colonizers. So basically, they create you an algorithm that keeps serving you exactly what you want to watch or what you want to actually follow online. So basically, you become a slave to your phone, because all the productive hours that you would have used to actually do something productive for yourself, you're not using it for that. You're basically staying on your phone 24/7 trying to maybe entertain yourself. And trust me, that right there is one of the reasons other countries are growing rapidly and others are lagging behind. And when it comes to Africa, of course, most of the African countries are still lagging behind. Now, when I give you an example of a country like China, they have the same, let's say, TikTok that you use, but here's the catch. For them, they restrict their children to watching maybe for just 3 minutes, and then they'll basically block the site there and then. So this basically means that this child will have more productive hours or more productive time when they're on the app. But for you, you can use it for as much as possible throughout your day. Now, if we are to speak about influence, this comes in a lot of forms, and culture has been one of those most used tools when it comes to influence. When we speak modern colonization, today we have things like movies, we have music, we have fashion. All these tools have actually used in form of culture to basically influence how you behave today. So this basically means that whatever the colonizers want to actually turn you into, they can, simply because of the movies that you watch, maybe the music that you listen to, or even the fashion styles that are out there today. You must understand that this just doesn't happen like that. It's basically something planned for maybe 10 or even 20 or even 50 years. They can plan to actually change the world in a particular way. And when it comes to Africa, we only and only consume. We basically just take in whatever is thrown at us. So no wonder we no longer have those strong-willed Africans that basically stand on something and have it done. Because today, so many of the news that we watch online, or maybe in whichever way you consume your media, maybe through a TV, that news or that music video that you watch or that fashion sense that you're going for is actually influencing you in some way. No wonder the trends in Africa are changing a lot. Some people don't even want to put on their traditional wear simply because they've been influenced in a particular way. Now, with all that said, what exactly can be done to actually put an end to this recolonization that is happening on the African continent? My first opinion on this would be for Africa to fully embrace Africa. Us as Africans should be able to start trading amongst ourselves. If, let's say, you know a product that is coming, let's say, from a neighboring African country, that should be the first product that you consume, not going and basically getting a product from outside of the continent. Because for some of those products that are brought or basically sent to the African continent, they come with certain ulterior motives on them. Maybe they are GMOs or any kind of destructive product. So you don't want to consume something that is coming from out. Just consume what is made by your fellow Africans. And then, of course, to avoid this over-dependence, we must embrace manufacturing. Africa needs to invest more in manufacturing and industrialization so that more products are actually produced locally here on the African continent. And then the other point that I believe is very, very crucial is the fact that Africa in general should improve on its governance and basically reduce corruption, because of corruption, so much is actually going wrong on the African continent. And trust me, we can do better than this. And of course, the other investment that most African governments need to do is to invest more in science and technology. This is a big area in which we've been left behind a lot as Africans, and no wonder when it comes to these colonialists, they keep taking advantage of Africa simply because we are not as good when it comes to technology. We've not actually stepped up to the big table. We need to actually work more in this area so that we do not depend in any way on these colonialists. And then when it comes to negotiating international partnerships, this is an area that is not done so well by the African governments. When negotiating these international deals, they should be done with extra caution, because most of the African governments enter these international deals when they've not fully internalized exactly what is in the deal. You find that, let's say, if it is a mining deal, basically the African country is only going to be getting, let's say, 20%, and the mining company from these colonial governments is actually going to take the 80%. So you don't want to get into such deals, because I've seen it again and again, especially on the African continent. Now, for more educational videos about the African continent, I suggest you check out this next video. I'm sure you'll learn a lot from it.